Good morning, everybody. Got your coffee? I got mine. So, yesterday, my garden pens came in. I buy these every year. And in this set, because I love this set, this Sharpie set. The Sharpies last the longest because, out in the hot sun, it's kind of hard. The permanent markers are not permanent out in that South Carolina sun, let me tell you. And they fade over time, but these stay the longest. And I like these because they're for the bigger planters. These is your standard average size Sharpie. But then these right here, these are great for your garden labels because look, let me show you the tip. See, and on those you can write, like Roma tomato or cherry tomato all down that little label. Because you definitely want to know and be diligent about writing down what you're planting because, even if you just can't say zucchini, you got to say, what kind of zucchini is it? What kind of, what I'm saying? What kind of tomato is it? What kind of onion is it? There's so many different varieties. And if I'm going to put them out in the, on top of the library pantry for people to grab, people are going to want to know definitely what kind of onion it is or what kind of, tomato plant this is. So we want to make sure. Okay, enough of that. Anyway, you guys don't care. Let's thank some people. Cindy, thank you so much. Cindy said she wanted her donation to go to the mental health of kids. And we're still doing that work over here, Cindy. I want you to, the only reason why I don't constantly bring it up is because I don't want to depress my audience by constantly talking about it. But we are constantly handling it over here. This is a book that just came in recently, another one. And, I have to vet these books because as a parent, and also too as a neighbor, we want to make sure that there's nothing in there glorifying the subject matter and there's nothing in there that another parent might find offensive. But we want to make sure that the kids are able to access the information. And we want to put books in there that, that are centered around, responsibly centers this issue. It's not glorifying, and it is addressing their emotional selves. And, because not all of us have parents, I know that I didn't when I was a kid. I didn't have parents that I could talk to about these issues. And mental health, by the way, mental illness, it ran in my family. My own mother had 2 nervous breakdowns when I was a child. And God forbid, my own mental health issues got addressed. I think that parents, when we have children before we are equipped to have children, we think that they're going to be these perfect little vessels. And we always think that we're going to do it better than our parents. And most of us end up failing miserably, if I'm just being honest. And we don't understand that they are just little people and that they have a lot of hard shit that they're dealing with too. And, stuff at school, bullying. I mean, think about the bullying, the online bullying that just adults do. And then can you imagine being raised in the home of one of those types of people and how most bullies become bullies because their first bullies are their parents. The parents say things that make them feel horrible and make them, do things that make them, not feel valuable. And you don't understand why you're here and why did you bring me here? You don't seem to care about me. These kids are dealing, and then you go to school and then you're dealing with all of these other kids who are dealing with the same shit. And these kids have camera phones now, the internet. They are bullying other children via social media. They are, kids are dealing with a lot. And so we just want to make sure that help is available in the form of books and pamphlets, brochures, and the information gets to them. And because this is a sensitive subject matter topic, I want to make sure that as a community member, as a parent, as a person, as a human, that I am being responsible and I am vetting these books in a way that does more good than harm. Definitely. Obviously. So thank you so much, Cindy. Regina, thank you. And Miss Bertha, hey, Miss Bertha, thank you. And Ursula, when I was a teenager, I had this boyfriend named Keith, and Ursula took this boy from me because I wouldn't give him the SCX. I'm almost over it. Carlton, thank you so much, Carlton. Kimmy, hey, Kimmy. Thank you, Kimmy. And to LaDallas, thank you so much. And to Hopeland, who says, look, I'm not a coffee person. I'm a tea person, but I'll support you. Somebody, by the way, I couldn't find the comment after I saw the comment, and they were asking me what kind of coffee do I drink. I like this company by the name of Bones. So that made me think of that. So listen, speaking of mental health care, there really needs to be, that's one of the things that we do not address in this nation, and we really do. And, in the Black community, it's so stigmatized in the Black community. Black people just will not go to therapy, and we really need to. We need to go deal with our internalized racism, our post-traumatic stress syndrome, from post-traumatic slave syndrome. We need to go deal with ourselves, but everyone does. We need to see mental health care professionals the same way we do doctors. We do. We need those checkups. These kids are stressed out to the point where they're going into schools and they're unaliving people. That's how stressed out. It used to be where the adults was doing that. And now you got the kids doing it. And it's just so much. But that's not the case study I want to talk about, though. The case study I want to talk about, which also, in my opinion, has to do with mental health care, is the obsession that white people have with Black people. Y'all are obsessed. They're obsessed. Now, don't get me wrong. We have, in my opinion, 3 types of, everybody knows that this is a pro-Black forum, but you're going to have white people that are going to want to be in the room. And for different reasons. You're going to have your overt racisms that chase you down and hunt you down because that's their goal in life. Is to just take every opportunity that they can to suck any joy and happiness from Black people and to be their racist, hateful selves and to spread that shit around like sugar. You know what I'm saying? That's who they are. And then you got your actual allies. Your actual allies. Those are the white people who sit back and they just try to, they're learning and they're not interfering, and they're learning how to show up for when that call of action really does come. They're learning that. And, and again, they never interfere, just supportive. And then you got what I like to call your fans. Let me tell you about the fans. The fans, they are these white people that think they are allies, but they're not. They want to be in the room, and they're the most disruptive. They're always, when I say, hey, Black people, they always got something to say. When the conversation is definitely for Black people, they got something to say. They talking like they didn't wear box braids all their life. And they've been using seasonings all their life. And have been surrounded by Blackness all their lives. And they don't feel like they are not entitled. They don't feel like that they cannot be in the room because their entitlement, white supremacy, tells them that no room, no space is off limits to them. It doesn't even occur to them to let us. And then when you say that to them, they get so angry. Like, why are you in this conversation that Black people are having? They get so angry. Those are your fans. They're a fan of something that you have said or something that you once did. And then when you perform in a way that they don't want you to perform or that they don't like you performing, when you're not a performative Black person here for their entertainment and their comfort, then they're not a fan anymore. And they lean right back into what? Being racist. Because that's always who they were. They were never an ally, just a fan of something I once said or something I once did. Yeah. Imagine, Black people, we have this history of every space being out of reach for us. Swimming pools, hospitals, schools, churches even. And yet you tell them to stay out of a conversation and they just short circuit. Them are the fans. Case studies should be done on the obsession that white people have for black people. You know, I was watching this video by my mutual and my girl, Tabitha Speaks Politics. And she was talking about this guy that made this tweet, Nick Adams. I don't know who he is. I never heard of him until, you know, she made reference. And he made this tweet over, I guess, on X. I'm not on that platform anymore. I don't want anything to do with that racist Elon. I don't know. I'm just guessing. Either way, I didn't see the tweet until she brought it to my attention. And he said he didn't want his tax dollars going to nails and $250 gym shoes. And you know that that's some racist shit geared toward black people. And you know, we can literally just be sitting back, minding our business, hydrating and moisturizing in a restful state. And here they come with the bullshit. Here they come. Because that's just who they are. That is a mental illness. That is a psychosis. To have to hunt black people down like that. Black people say we resting. We don't want to be bothered. Leave us alone. And it just makes them more hype, man. More hype. The attacks get stronger. Do not allow yourselves to be gaslit like that. Do not allow your emotional self to be triggered. That's what we mean when we say emotional intelligence. You have to know who is worthy of your energy and who isn't. And you have to know which situations are worthy of you jumping into and which ain't. And some trash talking racists on the internet is never. Now, don't get me wrong. There are going to be times when we have to address racism on the internet. Like, say, if someone posts a video of someone being racist in the workplace or racist within a corporation. You know what I'm saying? Things like that. Yeah. The internet, we're gonna need to get into those fights. But these random, hateful racists who are attempting to gaslight you and distract you from your rest and your peace. Because most racists have zero power until we give it to them by coming out of our peaceful selves, restful selves. You know, there's this thing where black people have started shoulder checking white people because they never see us. You know what I'm saying? Like when we're in a space and we're in a store, they expect us to go around. And you know, and that comes back from that time in history where black people literally had to get off the street, get off the curb or the sidewalk and move out of the way for white people. Couldn't look white people in the eye. And that harkens back to that time in history. And black people it was so entrenched in us that so many of us didn't even realize that we were doing it. But when you start to deconstruct from your internalized racism, you start noticing things like that. I remember noticing that like maybe about, maybe 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago. And realizing that I did that. I had a tendency to go around. And you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. I still have a tendency to go around. But let me tell you why. The whys are different. Before I did it, just because I was a granddaughter who hung out with my grandparents a lot. And I noticed that they did it. Whenever they saw a white person coming, they get down into not get down into the street, but they would move around. You know, they would give them the right of way, like they had the right of way. And so, you know, we subconsciously, unconsciously teach those things to our children and our grandchildren. Well, the millennials are the generation that has decided to address that. But again, like I said, as I deconstructed from my internalized racism, I knew that that was something that I was doing, just unconsciously. But now I'm very, very well aware of it, but my spirit still moves me to move. And let me tell you why. Because my spirit that I try to fill with light, it doesn't have the darkness of racism in it. That's not what's inside of my spirit. And my spirit guides, because I am a spiritual person and not a religious-based person, my spirit guides literally talk to me. And they will tell me, they will warn me of danger. And a demonic spirit, like racism, is a dangerous spirit. And so my spirit doesn't have time to shoulder check. Now, don't get me wrong. It might be a time when you're going to have to shoulder check. And I'm quite capable of it. But actually, my spirit demands me to get out of the way of that demon. And that's why I go around. Now, they can think whatever they want to think. But I know why I go around. I go around because my spirit of good and light has recognized your spirit of evil and dark. And it wants nothing to do with it. And mind you, that happens whether I'm dealing with a racist or whether I'm dealing with a misogynist or a sexist or a homophobic in a person or transphobic. If it's something in your spirit that's dark, my spirit is going to warn me of it. And that's just the way that I operate. But there definitely needs to be a case study as to why. A mental health study. But they don't want to address it because they don't want to address their racism. Because they would have to address their racism. And if they address their racism, they'll have to admit that racism is wrong. And so we'll never get that case study. And that's why we need black scholars to do that case study. We don't need them to do their own case study. That's like the police investigating themselves. We know it ain't going to be right. But we need black scholars. Like if you're watching me, this needs to be the next book about their obsession with black people and blackness. Because it's weird. It's weird. Literally just minding our own black ass business. And here they come. Whether it's because they want to be hateful, whether because they are obsessed, curious to the point of being obsessed, or whether we're just what's trendy to them that week because they're a fan. And if you are a white person and you are watching this video and you know that I am talking about you, you got work to do. You have real work to do. And so why you over here, baby? Bothering us. Y'all have a good Sunday. If you would like to donate to the platform, I will leave my Cash App, my Venmo down in the comments. Do something nice for somebody today.